Hello and welcome to Preacher Life. So we have gone through the book of Esther, and now we are in the book of Job. Now it looks like it could be pronounced Job, maybe, but I've always heard it pronounced Job, so that is what I will go with. Now, reading in Job 1, just verse 1 here. There is a man in the land of Uz, whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. So in that short description, we can see that Job feared God and he was a good man. But as we will see here in a little bit, God does allow for testing to be done of his people. So, still in Job 1, going down to verse 6. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, "From where do you come from?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil?" So Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, and around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not lay a hand on his person." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord. Now Job had a lot of family, he had many children, and he had many possessions. But in the following verses, we see that he lost all of his livestock, his goods, and all his children as well. But in all this, he did not curse God or blame anything that he had done. In Job 2, God also allows Satan to inflict Job with physical problems of boils and other ailments. But in both of these, we see that God is in control and only allows certain things to be done to Job. In all this, Job took the good with the bad and gave God thanks. He knew that everything that comes to us comes by the will of God. Now in Job 2, verse 11, we read that his 3 friends came and talked with him. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this adversity that had come upon him, each one came from his own place. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come and mourn with him and to comfort him. And when they raised their eyes from afar and did not recognize him, they lifted their voices and wept, and each one tore his robe and sprinkled dust on his head toward heaven. So they sat down with him on the ground 7 days and 7 nights, and no one spoke a word to him, for they saw that his grief was very great. Now, the rest of the book of Job, most of it is a dialogue between his friends and Job, and as I've heard many commentaries say, and myself included, they should have just stayed quiet like they did for these 7 days and 7 nights. Because really they did not give all that great of advice. And throughout all this, we see that Job is in great despair, and he even is sorry that he was born. But he maintains that he is in the right, and that if he could only talk to God and plead his case, that he would be in the right. And that is much of what Job says. And towards the end of the book, he gets his wish. So now we'll fast forward. Okay, we're at Job 38 now. Verse 1 starts with this. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this who darkens counsel by words without knowledge? Now, prepare yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Now, for the next about 3 chapters, God gives Job kind of a fast-paced back and forth of questions. So, like in 38 verse 4, we start off with, Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Tell me if you understand. Who determined its measurements? Surely you know. Or who stretched out the line upon it? To what were its foundations fastened? Or who laid its cornerstone when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? So we get a dialogue like this. And Job asked to be able to talk to God, and this was his answer. Now, in Job 40, God starts asking about different creatures. So, let's go with Job 40 verse 8. Would you indeed annul my judgment? Would you condemn me, that you may be justified? Have you an arm like God? Can you thunder with a voice like his? Then adorn yourself with majesty and splendor, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Disperse the rage of your wrath. Look on everyone who is proud and humble him. So we see throughout all this that God is pointing out a sin in Job of pride, that he is trying to put himself up higher than God, that he is better than him. But we also see here in Job 40, starting at verse 15, Look now at the Behemoth, which I made along with you. He eats grass like an ox. See now, his strength is in his hips, and his power is in his stomach muscles. He moves his tail like a cedar. The sinews of his thighs are tightly knit. His bones are like beams of bronze, his ribs like bars of iron. He is the first of the ways of God. Only he who made him can bring near his sword. Surely the mountains yield food for him, and all the beasts of the field play there. He lies under the lotus trees in a covert of reeds and marsh. The lotus trees cover him with their shade, the willows by the brook surround him. Indeed, the river may rage, yet he is not disturbed. He is confident though the Jordan gushes into his mouth, though he takes it in his eyes, or one pierces his nose with a snare. So this is a very large creature that we're talking about here. And it's familiar to Job as God talks about it. And so large, it says he moves his tail like a cedar. So some Bible comments will say that this may have been an elephant or possibly a hippopotamus. But if you go to the zoo and look at the back end of these animals, their tails are like twigs, not trees. So a lot of people have asked before that how do you fit dinosaurs into the Bible? Well, you don't fit them into the Bible. You look at the Bible and see what they are. And this description sounds a lot like a large sauropod dinosaur that we have maybe seen on movies or in museums. And this is most likely what it's talking about here. And going on through verse 41, or chapter 41, we read more about other creatures. But in chapter 42, verse 1, we read Job's response. Then Job answered the Lord and said, I know that you can do everything, and that no purpose of yours can be withheld from you. You asked, who is this who hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore, I've uttered what I did not understand. And it's on the next page, so I can't read it directly. But Job said that he had heard of God with his ears and had now seen him with his eyes. And therefore, he repented in dust and ashes. And then we read that God restores Job's fortune, and he has several children again. And that the latter part of his life was even more blessed than the first part. We aren't told that God ever told Job why he had this testing, but we can see throughout this book that no matter what testing it is, even say having a spinal cord injury for most of your life, that it is not without God's purpose, that we can serve him no matter what. But as it says in elsewhere here in Job, that he wished for a mediator to speak between him and God. Well, we have that in Jesus Christ, who is the Son of God, and that came and died for our sins, that we may have life with him. So even in the book of Job, that was written about 2,000 years before Christ, we see where he is in it. So that is all we have for today. And I hope that you will look into this book yourself and read it. But that is it for today at The Preacher Life. And I hope have a great day or morning or whatever it is when you're watching this. Bye for now. Where should I go?
Insane. Join me.
Nah.